I know that we probably got people signed in, but we're gonna keep this show on the road. We actually about a couple of minutes early, so I wasn't planning on doing a piece, but I'm gonna do a piece. I wrote one last night, and then I wrote one the other day, and so I'm gonna do this one that I wrote to. I'm gonna do the one that I wrote last night. Um, and shout out to the dude who did my hat. Black owned businesses all over me. So um, this one is called SW, which stands for spoken word because I ain't have a name for it because I wrote it last night. We only got one life, one time, one death, one unanswered call because they not, they not there again. One first love, one first heartbreak, two different people buying the same thing, two different ratings. Someone went through the same thing you went through. Someone was manipulated in a race, had to redefine themselves just like you. Someone struggled to look in the mirror too. Someone had to see their baby cry for the first time. Mama cried for the last time. Cousin passed away. Too young for me to believe in God or to believe God is good all the time. But maybe I'm three more, four more, five more steps away from my first undeniable experience. I have to change subjects like I changed shoes, been abused. Denial of was finding me, what was finding being used. Deny myself the truth that I was more than what they said. Shit, I'm more valuable than what I said I believed. That's what I wrote last night, 10 o'clock last night. Um, yeah. And then this next one is called Alone Ain't Vulnerability. This is probably one of my favorite pieces that I wrote actually this year, just because there was so much going on this summer and so many people telling me still have this post-racial ideology, this idea that um, racism has left America, like it isn't a structural and systemic thing, like it's not a mindset, like whiteness is not um, an ideology. People talk about how whiteness is a construct, and yes, that might be true, but we are living in someone else's reality currently. The fact that capitalism is the way that it is, the fact that the gender gap is the way that it is, the fact that we have children missing, murdered, the fact that we have indigenous populations who have to make MMIW shows us that capitalism and whiteness is really perpetuating itself in all instances of life. And even when I went to Australia, I found it interesting that, you know, people didn't see themselves as white, but they still held a lot of these capitalistic ideologies. And just because you believe in capitalism doesn't necessarily mean that you believe in whiteness, but I believe that, you know, we don't need a black capitalist. We don't need minoritized capitalists, because at the end of the day, you become an imperialist, you end up colonizing other people. So therefore, we don't need that. Um, but that wasn't the whole goal. The goal is just to say that's what this summer and all those different things reminded me of. And so this piece is called Alone Ain't Vulnerability. Scrolling through Facebook feels like a highlight reel. I got stressed when they got killed. I went to college and they got years behind those bars. Lost some homies and gained some enemies. Used to get mad because folks wasn't matching my energy. They lost out. I've been working on the inner me. Stop blaming the devil for my problems when my pride, ego, and selfishness was the true enemy. And what I saw in the mirror was more telling of the lack of true synergy. Meditating for days, praying for solutions in the spirit of delusion that I'ma always see better days. We all struggling, but what's your life like to your peers? Can you share your fears and get help with your insecurities? For so long, I was pulling through by myself when I had help, strong structures, and support systems. But I ignored them in my sorrows and thoughts about tomorrow because I dealt with pain alone. Denied those who loved me access because I didn't want to be accessible until I figured it out and the pain was gone. Just because you're successful now doesn't mean failure won't follow. We was all one less child in the world that could have been swallowed. So when you feeling hollow and numb, stupid, mean as hell and dumb, not cute enough for her or not cute enough for him. Remember, if you deal with this alone, the draining comes from within. Self-talk is our reality. What you tell yourself is what you are, but you struggle the hardest when you don't let others in. If you don't heal from what cut you, you bleed on those who love you, and eventually you cage them in. Alone ain't vulnerability.